What's up, guys? It's Chris. Welcome back to VHP Engines. So today, I want to talk about a fucking W that some of us old heads have taken just for the patience of virtue. So if you guys remember back during the pandemic, which I think we are going three or so years now, when everybody was getting the paychecks and shit every month, we had a problem where it was like a global shortage on cars. So used cars started to go up in price, and it's one thing for like a used car that's like 10, 15 years to start going up in price. It's another thing for a 92, 95 Honda Civic starting to go up to like $6,000, people asking for it. So, of course, me and a couple other people got fucking sick of seeing shit like that. We started complaining. And so I made a video, and I was like, is there a time where you can justify a $5,000 like EG Civic that's stock, right? And sure enough, to be fair, there wasn't as many. Like, I did go back and review the video because I was like, it was one of those videos that got a lot of comments, and I was like, if a lot of the comments are people fucking being smartasses, like, oh, bro, these cars aren't getting any cheaper, they're gonna start going up from price from here on out. I was like, no, this is artificial inflation because people have extra money and they're looking to buy these things and they're willing to spend the extra money because the money was free. The government was just giving out money, so they didn't give a fuck if they were paying an extra tax on top of buying a car. But some stupid fucking people were convinced that this was just normal market inflation, that the price was just going to go up because these cars are well sold out. And my argument, of course, in the video was like, people don't buy Honda Civics because they're beautiful classic. Now, yes, there's some out there who do. Like, every once in a while you'll see the magazine article like, oh, my dad used to have one of these cars, and I always wanted one, so I had to buy one. Every once in a while you'll hear that fucking story. But the fact and the truth of the matter is, the reason why old Honda Civics are desirable is because they are cheap and they are easy to make little race cars out of without spending a lot of money. Now, with the B series becoming a little bit more harder to get and a lot rarer, that's starting to get a little harder to build. But on the plus side, K series is a whole lot fucking cheaper now. And the D series is still a thing that is still holding its regular price, because as long as Honda Civics exist in the junkyard, you can still go get those for a couple $100. All right. Now, if you know that the B series in the junkyard, those tend to be B20s out of CRVs, which are a lot rarer than fucking Honda Civics. So those are going to be harder to get. I hear people talk about it already. I've had people in my DMs talk about it's hard to find a B20. Well, for me, I don't give a shit. There's no engine I want to be like, oh, I want to build that particular engine. No, I don't give a fuck. They pretty much do the same thing at the end of the day. It's just whichever going to be more easy to build, which will be more cost effective. And at the end of the day, the most cost effective engine to build is always going to be whatever the fuck came in the car. So if you get a car with a D in it, you build the D. If you get a car with a B in it, you build the B. If you get a car with a K in it, you build the K. Now, if you want to go out of your way and spend the extra money because of whatever reason, that's fine. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about the course correction that the market has taken. Now, I don't tend to pay attention to marketplace anymore for a couple of reasons. One, because years ago, I stopped selling used parts. I stopped selling used parts because I don't want to deal with fucking Honda people trying to lowball or wasting my time, a million people in my DMs to not come through. Right? That's number one. Number two is because the shit I've dealt with for the S2000 has got me depressed. I don't want to look at cars. The day I can be done with the S2000 is going to be one of the happiest days of my fucking life. Get that car running, get that car tuned, get that car fucking sold. Should have never bought it. It was a pride thing. Should have never bought it. I shouldn't have bought a car that was that expensive to invest that kind of money into. I should have either stayed with the Integra, or I should have bought something, like I should have bought a Del Sol or something. I could just throw something in and call it a day. But I didn't. Again, pride thing why I bought the S2K. I don't even enjoy driving the car for two reasons. One, because it's uncomfortable, and two, because it's so fucking expensive. I'm terrified of something happening to the car. So I've stayed away from marketplaces because I'm depressed about cars. I don't want to think about cars. But as I'm scrolling through Facebook, doing the mindless scroll, I couldn't help it every once in a while notice the price of a car. And guess what, baby? We're back. $1,500 Civics are back on the fucking market. $1,200 Civics are back on the fucking market. When some of these stupid assholes out there were saying that it wasn't going to happen, that it was a new thing because the market was finally correcting itself because these cars are so old. No, bitch. The fucking market was artificially inflated because there was free money around there. Now it's hard times again. People aren't buying those fucking shit boxes off of you. So guess what you're doing, Mr. Seller? You're bringing the fucking price down, trying to move your car. I know people with very good chassis that got several $1,000s invested in a roll cage, paint, suspension, fucking K-ready, can't get rid of the car. Offered on payments, can't get rid of the car. You know, drop the fucking price down several $1,000s, can't get rid of the car. And they should be able to. Great fucking chassis, right? But, you know, so if you're one of the fucking OGs, or if you're somebody who had fucking 2 cents of fucking in your brain up there that realized that this was not a real thing, that this inflation was only temporary because the extra money flooded in the market, and you waited to not buy this shit while it was $5,000-$6,000, then you fucking won. Now, are there still some fucking $5,000 Civics out there in the market? Yeah, but they're not going anywhere. Even fucking Del Sols are like averaging 25, 1,500, 2,900, depending on if they're running or not, they're healthy. CRXs, which everybody swore to fuck that were going to go up in price, are not. They're still there at their fucking cheap price. You can find them. So, guys, as far as when it comes to what you're going to spend and what you're going to invest in, you have to understand what the true situation of the market is. You have to understand, you have to be willing to put your fucking foot down. Now, it depends on, again, why you're trying to buy this car or what you're trying to buy specifically. But in a lot of cases nowadays, it is true that we're probably going to start finding these 8th and 9th gen SIs. They're going to be more and more affordable. Like now, I'm still see some RSXs that are like $4,000 or $5,000, but to be fair, those RXXs are really fucking clean. But give it another fucking 10 years and those cars are gonna be nothing too. Why? It's just because you're gonna have 10th, 11th gen Civic SIs that are gonna be fucking, like $8,000 themselves. They're gonna be well worth buying. Now, there is the argument for the fucking 11th gen Civic or the 10th and 11th gen Civic that are not worth fucking buying. The SIs, because that goddamn piece of shit in there. The L15 that comes in is dog shit. I just talked to somebody recently who fucking got rid of their 10th gen or 11th gen Civic Si to go buy an older one, just because of the fact that they wanted to get back into a K series, which makes all the sense in the world. If you can get one fucking less than 10 grand and you can pay out cash on it, why the fuck would you want to be spending money on a piece of shit on a car? Like, again, the SIs, the modern SIs are great. Like, stock for stock, they're faster. They're great on gas. Like, they're phenomenal on gas. I dogged the fuck out of my SI and still had 300 miles to a fucking full tank on average. But the L15 comes from factory at its point where it's already got it. It's maxed. They maxed out the power. Any extra power you add to it could make it blow up. Now, every once in a while, there will still be these guys, I've tuned mine and I've had it for X amount of time. Well, guess what, right? There are fluky encounters that happen from time to time. I had my first ever swap that I did on a Civic way back in the day. It was like a D15B from Japan. When people would drive with me on the highway and I third gear, fucking 9,000 RPMs, people screaming at me to shit before I blow it up. I didn't care if that engine blew up because I was ready to go B, and I wasn't going to be able to go B with the guy I was trying to go B with, my mechanic at the time, unless that shit blew up. He wasn't going to take pity on me and let me do payments unless it was exploded. So I didn't care if my D blew up. And I fucking dogged that engine for about a year, 2 years. Wouldn't give up. It was unkillable. Me, my boys, everybody declared it unkillable. Right before I went to the Army, I pulled that swap, put in a GSR, wound up selling the car. Didn't even get the chance to use the GSR. The swap went from me to this other guy. That guy pulled it. He pulled it to put a B in there after a couple of months. That swap came back to the family. They wanted it, like my friends wanted it because they knew it was mine and they knew it was the unkillable D. That guy, a friend of mine, had it for 3 months and blew it up. I got fucking lucky. I was fucking dogging the shit out of the thing and it didn't go. Right? Another friend of mine, same thing. Had a car, not a Honda, but a similar situation where I had a car where I abused the fuck out of it. It was fine. He had it for 6 months, blew it up. Another one where I had where it was what was this one? Oh, it was a B16 I had. The first built B16 I had. I had that engine in multiple cars at multiple levels of power, up to 440, and dogged the fuck out of that goddamn car. No problems. Years. sold the fucking B16. The guy had it for 2 months, blew it up. You know, shit happens, bro. Just because one or two of you guys out of the pack get fucking lucky doesn't mean it's everybody, bro. It doesn't mean it's everybody. Why I always make the argument is that you got to go to the people who see those engines on a regular basis. Now, if you got the fucking, like right after I'm listening to somebody argue about how his fucking L15 is holding up, I'm watching on Instagram another guy pull his fucking L15 out of a car with fucking holes in it, the rod sticking out, right? And then you got some of the best tuners, best Honda tuners, the most famous Honda tuners on the fucking planet saying L15 problems. Why? Because that's common. It's common. It's more common than not. It doesn't mean every single engine produced will blow up at the exact same fucking power adder, but they are already stressed. They can go once you start to add power to them, even if it's a little bit. And all the time I said, oh, what if I had to rewind the video, rewatch what I said? The fucking title says, do not add any power at all. You're at maximum limit. Anything beyond that is stressing it. You know, rubber bands on the fucking watermelon. If you do that experiment 100 times, I promise you, it's not gonna blow up at every single time with the exact same rubber band. It'll probably go a little earlier, or it'll go a little later. But you know, you get to a certain point, they're gonna go, right? So again, I don't know how this turned into a rant for that, but if you did hold off and you didn't buy one of those fucking older cars when it was at an inflated price, you win, because just a couple years later down the road, the prices all come down. And because of the way inflation is right now, like the US dollar, and because of the way the economy is with high fucking rates of interest and everybody kind of tightened up their belt, I can imagine that if you're one of the guys that are fortunate enough to have a good job and you're not really struggling right now, this is a great time for you. This is a great fucking buyer's market. It wouldn't be a bad thing to grab an extra car or two, just so that way when it does start to flip back around again, it starts to get healthy when the market starts to flip, especially depending on the fucking outcome of the election this year. You might make a little bit of money coming back if you're going to sell a car that you don't really need to keep. All right, guys, so that's it for that one. And peace. Thanks for watching.